Hello, I'm Steph from iDriver Classic. Now usually I focus on much older classic cars, but here's the thing, Beaulieu Motor Museum are opening a new exhibition very soon, and the idea is to celebrate the more modern classics that people that are definitely younger than me think of when someone says to them classic car. Now a lot of you will look at a Mondeo and you'll be like me, of an age where you think, hold on, aren't there millions of them around? But honestly, you look out the window now and you will not see a Mark 1 Mondeo in this condition or really at all anymore. And they are a special car. They really put Ford back on the map in the 90s, and this car was the very first car of all the cars out there to be fitted with a driver's side airbag from new, which is one of the reasons why it won European Car of the Year in 1994. Now in today's video, although it is very much a modern classic, we are going to be looking at it in just the same way that we look at all the other classics in this channel, in a respectful and mature way. Because hands up, the first time I ever did a Mark 1 Mondeo on the channel, I wasn't very nice, and I take that back because that was out of order and it was totally unjustified on the car. It's worth so much more than that. So as I said, the way we're going to do it today, we're going to have a look around the outside, have a look under the bonnet, inside the boot, so we can see how much space all those reps had, those family men and all the owners in between. And we're going to have a look at the interior because there's a lot more than you might be expecting for a car released in 1993. And then we're going to take it for a gentle poodle around the Beaulieu estate, because this has only just arrived with the team at the Beaulieu Motor Museum for their new exhibition. So it's not even been washed yet. We are the very first people to try it out. So come on, buckle up. We're going to take a step back into the not so distant past with this Mark 1 Mondeo. When Ford brought the Mondeo to market, they described it as their answer to achieving a perfect fusion of beauty and technology. The car was said to combine the best of European and American design and engineering, talent, and the car offered a range which gave the driver a unique blend of safety, driving pleasure and dynamic styling. A true car, the brochure promised, which must have rung true with the motoring press of the era, because Autocar and Motor described the first generation Mondeo as the most complete and thoroughly engineered family car they had ever driven. High praise indeed for Ford's new offering, but let's skip back to where it began. Now, do you remember the Ford Sierra? We've driven one on the channel before, so if you haven't seen one, you can skip right back. The Sierra had been a great car in Ford's lineup, and when we did the review on it, a lot of people also agreed. They loved the Ford Sierra too. But listen, by the time the Mondeo was being conceived, the Sierra was a little bit behind the curve. Despite a mid-production visual makeover, the car was still underpinned by those 80s fundamentals, and the Ford buyer was ready for something new and exciting. And also, you know who else was? The fleet buyer, because there's a lot of money in fleet cars, or there certainly was. Now, Ford weren't in the strongest position that they'd been in say the 60s and into the 70s in Britain, with competition not only coming in from the UK and Europe, but the now established Japanese and growing Asian market. Brands like Kia were quietly rising up the ranks. I mean, a lot of people might know them as Asia Motors, but they were getting there. Now, Ford knew that the Mondeo couldn't just be good, it had to be outstanding to not only hold on to the Ford buyer for the next generation, but to increase the market share in the UK and beyond, because this was Ford's world car. The brand stepped up. Ford brought in a transverse engine coupled with front-wheel drive with independent rear suspension. The interior, as I'll wax lyrical later on, is a real step up on quality and finish. It was beyond, and still is beyond, what many people had expected from Ford of the time. But that wasn't all though, because the car also had the aforementioned steering wheel airbag, making it the world's first car to have this as standard at launch on all models in all countries. The front belt grabber and pre-tensioner, the power steering is standard, central double locking, electronic ABS, anti-lock braking and four-wheel drive as options on certain models, and many other small touches helped bring this car to the forefront of the market in a way that perhaps if you weren't alive at the time or you don't you're not really old enough to remember, it was a really big deal. However, Ford did have a good man at the helm of the engineering team, Richard Parry Jones. If you're a Ford man or a Ford lady or Ford person, that name might sound familiar because he was also involved in other key models of the 90s, including the Puma and the Focus. And there were 3 engine options at launch. I've checked this with a brochure from 1993. So by 1994, early on, there might have been others. So apologies, but that's been my reference point. You had the 1.6 litre 90 PS, the 1.8 115 PS, and the 2 litre 136 PS, with us today having the 2 litre fitted in the example we're testing. It's worth noting that the 2 litre at launch was not an option for the 2 bottom specs. 2 bottom specs being Mondeo and LX. The 2 litre is available from the GLX spec upwards. Again, this is what's shown in the brochure that I've used. However, with this example being registered in March 94, you definitely would have been sitting with a very late 93 or early 94 brochure, which roughly looks the same as the one I've used for reference point. There was a 3-way cap fitted as standard with a nod to emissions, an electronically controlled exhaust gas recirculation system which gave reduced emissions. However, sadly, this is not good enough for ULEZ because it still falls foul of their very stringent requirements. Boo. Now, this might not be a classic for some, but it's a really important part of Ford's history, and therefore it is a classic to some extent, whether you want to admit it or not. And also, it's a big part of our history as a nation. It gave rise to the marketing term Mondeo Man, although if you watch Tony Blair's speech, he calls them Sierra Man. It's Mondeo. And it was Ford's first car that they truly pitched as a world car suitable for every continent. And it held its own at the top of the sales boards, not just in the UK, but in many countries globally. Now, for those of you that know me well, you'll know that I drive a car which is exactly the same age as this most days. And yeah, mine was coming kind of to the end of its natural life on the forecourt, and this was pretty new because it was only released the year before. But goodness me, it really shows the difference in what you could get in the mid-sized car market. First of all, I love the use of this blue plastic. It's lovely because nowadays everything feels so blooming boring. It's either grey or black or some dull colour that's easy to forget. Whereas this, it's nice. And do you know what I really like about this as well is the plastic hasn't degraded, because quite often you look at things from, and I'm sorry to say it, the Austin Rover stable, things like Montegos and stuff, and unfortunately the plastic that they used cracks really easily, and you end up with a dash that might be a beautiful colour, but it just ends up looking a little bit tatty, and it's such a shame because they've got a great dash layout too. Now anyway, let me show you what we've got in here. So first of all, the thing that Ford got really right with this is they thought about the end user, and things weren't exactly rosy at Ford. Like nowadays you think about Ford and so many people are die-hard fanatics, but people were in a changing market at the time because cars like the Honda Accord, the Nissan Primera, they'd come in or were coming in and they were impressing people. And this was the thing, Ford had always thought of themselves as competing against the European market, but now they were competing with the Japanese market as well, and they were losing market share. The Sierra hadn't really set the world alight in perhaps the way they thought it had, so with the Mondeo they had to get it right. And I think the thought, the care and the design that's been put into this is so very evident, and it's really well thought out in a way that you don't always see with cars. Sometimes manufacturers go after things with great intentions, and as we know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and you end up with all sorts of nonsense. So first of all, let's talk about the doors, because you've got those shallow door pockets, great bit of storage. You've also got a fabulous size glove box that, blimey, there is a lot of room in that, which top marks. And as you go through the car, it is peppered with storage facility in a way that doesn't feel like it takes away from any of the styling or the design on it either. Now you've got your air vents up here, you've got a clock, a digital clock here, you've got your fog rear heated screen here, and in here, just this little pot here, you've got a little coin pot. But because it's dipped down, the coins don't jiggle around, and it's all beaded so that nothing moves around. Again, very small detail, but these little things that just help take the car from great to wow. Now coming down from here, you've got all your controls. Now quite often, if you've watched an iDrive a Classic video before, I moan about the quality of plastics and how they hold up through the passing of time. With these, lovely and chunky, they've aged well, they don't look out of place. These are controls that if you looked at them in an early 2000s vehicle, they wouldn't look out of place. They're very timeless in a way that they can span quite a decent range of time. It doesn't look dated, the plastic is not fragile. Coming down from there, you've got your cassette player, and if that's not good enough for you, you've also got a CD player as well. Now I don't know if this double offering of entertainment was something that you had to pay extra for on the CD player, but I'm wondering if I can show you something. So this is such a nerd detail, but it's one of my favourite things, is when you turn the key on, the little control here displays the reg of the car because it's part of its security coding, and I don't know, I just really like it. And there's something else that I quite like, is when you're thinking about storage and you're building storage into a car, is I think you should always think about how it flows within the design. And Ford did a really nice job on this. So this little push pot here opens up and you've got your ashtray, and you've also got your cigar lighter just bedded in there as well. Again, I don't think it would be that easy to empty if you were actually using an ashtray, so that is something I should probably mention. However, the design element of it is exceptional. Coming across from there, this was something I told a few people that I was driving a Mark 1 Mondeo, and the one thing that everybody said was mention the pen holder. So for you at home that love the pen holders, it's got a pen holder in it. That is quite something. If you bought one of these new, can you just answer something that is a question for me? Did you get a pen in there, or did you have to buy your own pen? Like, how did that work? Now, you've also got a velour armrest, which annoyingly, because I am so short, the armrest is too far back for me to use. So that is a small criticism, but look, I'm probably not your typical driver of one of these. You open it up, and inside there you've got room, I think it's for CDs. I'm not sure if it's CDs or tapes, but you've also got the cup holders as well. And this is really an era of cup holders, because I remember my mum had a Jeep Cherokee around this time, and we had cup holders in it, and I just thought it was the absolute best thing ever. So this really is the era where it starts becoming quite the thing. Now, something I particularly like, and it might be something you like too, is I prefer analog dials over digital. And as you can see here in front of us, the layout is simple, which again is what I like, because I like to focus on the driving, but you've got everything there. So you've got a selection of warning lights, which are obviously not lit up at the moment, but you've got your temperature gauge, you've got a rev counter, you've got your speedo and trip clock, and you've got your fuel gauge there as well. And it's just marvellous really, because again, the quality that's used on the indicators and the wipers of these arms, again, really sturdy, great plastic. These are cars which have been made with a high mileage user in mind. They're not just a Sunday car. That for me means that it's a car that if you're buying into it later on down the line, like now, you're still going to find a car that comes to you where things are probably going to be in pretty good shape. These velour seats as well are really well upholstered, and what I like is they haven't just gone for a plain, they've actually ribbed the velour as well. Now this is a really small detail, but again, it's these small details which take a car from being just okay to something a little bit more special. The one thing I will say is though, pattern on the velour does make it look a little bit dated. However, it has held up really well with the passing of time, so I cannot complain on that front. A couple more controls over here, and then I want to talk to you about the use of electric in this car, because there's a lot in this car that is on electric, and I don't know if I particularly like that, but for the time it was great. So you've got, maybe I need to turn the key again, one electric window and two. You've also got electric mirrors. You've got loads of, is that electric mirror actually, or is it? No, yeah, it is electric mirror. I thought it was. So you've got an electric mirror, the seat moves with electric. This must have been like some year 3000 stuff for people that were driving older stuff and trading up. It's a really nice car with a robust offering inside, with great quality materials used. And for me, that gives the driving experience before you've set off a solid 10 out of 10 for what it needs to be. Because remember, this is a mid-sized car. It's aimed at reps, it's aimed at people with families, it's aimed at people that aren't doing a few finicky miles down to the post office and the shop once a week. It's for people that need to use the cars, and they need to be reliable, and they need to serve them well. And I think this really does hit the mark. And if you're wondering, by the way, what kind of mileage this is on, it's on nearly 90,000. So it's not a short, I know people will say, well, that's low mileage. Yeah, fair enough, it's not moon mileage, but it's enough mileage for us to see wear in the seats, wear in the interior, and you're just not seeing that come back at all. It's held up really well, and I'm thoroughly impressed. Have a little listen to it. Oh, and by the way, it's really quiet. It just really reminds me of being a child, because I feel like everybody's parent had a Mondeo, or someone's relative had a Mondeo. My granddad had a Sierra, in case you're wondering. And then weirdly swapped onto a Pajero, so who knows. Anyway, that was the engine from the inside. Have a listen from the outside, and then we'll go for a poodle around Beaulieu. Right, let's go on an adventure. Oh, there we go. It's got that spongy gear change that you find in a lot of 90s cars. 5 forward gears on this one, by the way. Also, very nice suspension. Took mowing over that grass quite well. Lovely light steering. Oh. You know what really winds me up, okay, I'm going to tell you, is ULEZ, because it's wiping so many cars like this out that are perfectly reasonable, that could be driven on the roads. They are not £1 million, or well, £1 million quid's an exaggeration. They're not oodles of money that people on low to middling incomes can't afford. They're affordable, they're a jolly little drive, they're easy to fix, and it really makes me quite cross that cars like this are just disappearing at the rate of knots because they can't be driven. Why can't we put an amnesty on these and say, until the car reaches the end of its life, you know, or the person decides to sell it or whatever, there must be something that we can do to try and save the heritage of some of these vehicles, because stuff like this is just as important as 1960s and 1970s vehicles. Because as somebody at work once said to me, every car in its lifetime has been a banger, unless it's like your Aston Martins or whatever. All your run-of-the-mill stuff, everything's been a banger at some point. Just because it's worth a lot of money now doesn't mean it always was. And so cars like this, as my friend Richard, who's helping me film today, said, he said, people go crazy for stuff like this. I mean, you come to Rustival, you go to Festival of the Unexceptional, you go to the NEC, you will see lots of people that are just crazy about cars like this, that are willing to spend lots of money to keep them on the road and make them look lovely. And they love them in the same way that I love my 50s and 60s stuff. And who are we to deny them the fun and the joy that comes with classic car ownership? And the best of all is stuff like this. It's so blooming usable. You could be on a motorway in this. I mean, look at this. I'm just cruising along, chatting to you, engine barely audible, car isn't straining, you're not being rattled around. I mean, there is a rattle over there. It's really annoying and I can't work out what it is. But look, if you're watching this video and you've seen one of these and thought, oh, I could go for it, but you know, it's not a typical classic or whatever, look, just go for it, because they are just on the precipice of becoming real bona fide classics, and they already are. I mean, this wasn't small change to buy, whereas 5-10 years ago they were actually pretty cheap to buy. I mean, look at, as you come round this little roundabout, so easy to maneuver, so quiet, so comfortable inside. You've got your headrest, you've got your driver's airbag, you've got plenty of storage, you've got room to take all your mates with you. There are lots of people with these, or that have worked on them, that are still alive and they're still working. You can still get quite a lot of parts for stuff like this. So really, this, as many other 90s cars are, like Micras, Almiras, Accords, even like my Proton, they are great because you can use them all the time. They aren't fussy, you can get up to a decent speed. If you've got to pull away from a junction and you've got to be quick about it, you know you've got the power there to do it. And so if I can make an impassioned plea to you within this video, it would be for you to really start seeing stuff like this as a classic, and to help give people a leg up in finding them, restoring them, keeping them on the road, and making sure that the next generation have their own generation of classics, because they deserve it just as much as people like me with 70s and 80s cars do. They deserve stuff like this. They deserve to enjoy it, and I think that if we gatekeep our hobby, we'll just kill it off. You know, it's not cool to gatekeep, and it's certainly not cool to gatekeep the classic car community either. But anyway, sorry, I've just gone off on a mad tangent. I should probably tell you what this is like to drive and why it is at Beaulieu. So it's at Beaulieu because they're opening a new exhibition, and I don't know if you can see these cars here, but these also form part of the exhibition as well. And just going past slowly so you can see, you've got Morris Minor, you've got Fiesta, you've got an MG ZS, you've got all sorts. And the idea of the new exhibition is to celebrate cars that people from different generations have known as commonplace, that have driven, that have owned them, and it's to unite all the generations together with a commonality that everybody loves classic cars, and that we can all find joy in them, even if we don't find the same things interesting or exciting. We still have an appreciation that we're all petrol heads at heart, and I really like that. And I think that it's great that Beaulieu are really welcoming the newer breed of classic car enthusiasts that do love stuff like this, that love Micras, that love Corsa Bs, that love all that 90s and early 2000s stuff. And I'm all here for it because, yeah, anyway, that's what this is all about. This is why this is here, and I really strongly support it. I should probably give you an overall summary on what this is like to drive and what I don't like. I don't like that rattle, whatever it is over there. It's doing my absolute head in. I mean, look, if I was in my own car right now, I'd have a tape jacked up to volume 10,000, so I probably wouldn't even hear it. And my hearing's so poor at the best of times anyway, which is why sometimes you'll hear me edit a video and it's not quite bang on the money, because my ears are shot to bits after years of driving noisy classics. If I was driving something like this, I might actually have some hearing left. So this, if you are looking at this video and you're thinking, should I buy a Mark 1 Mondeo? They are on the cusp of classic, they are easy to drive. Yes, yes, and yes again. Easy to drive, although we've not got up to any great speed, although that's us up into 30 with barely a foot down at all. It's just an easy little thing to drive. Nice suspension, nice handling, quiet inside the cabin. Seats are really well upholstered and they're quite wide as well, so if you've got a slightly larger bottom, your bottom's not going to be hanging off the sides of the chair. The plastics are all sturdy. They are a high quality plastic that can take a lot of high traffic, so if you're looking at an example that is, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a barn find, you will still find a lot of life left in it. And because they are on the cusp of being that classic, even though they are a Ford, and you are going to pay, I hate using this term, but you are going to pay a bit of Ford tax, you will still get a really decent car for kind of 2-3 grand. And in today's world where everything seems to have to be bought on finance and you have to jump through a million hoops and black box everything, or you're limited on mileage because that's what the hire purchase company tell you can have some freedom in this. You drive a car that you will find first time in your car park, and you will get lots of happy smiles, because even though this is a modern classic, lots of people have come up to me today whilst I've been driving it and saying, blimey, I can't remember the last time I saw one. Oh, I love them. Oh, they're great. Not a bad word has been said about the Mark 1 Mondeo. I mean, they did sell nearly 130,000 in the first year, so can't have been too bad. Anyway, I've nattered away to you today. I hope I've made an impassioned plea for why this should be considered a classic, why I've put it on the channel, and I hope that Beaulieu go from strength to strength with their new exhibit, because every car has its day and every car deserves to be recognised under its own merit. And hopefully take this as a video for Mondeo people with long memories that remember my first video and know that I didn't get it quite right first time. Hands up, I didn't fully appreciate the car for what it was, but with a bit of maturity and a few more miles under my belt, it's given me a newfound appreciation for what this car brings to market, and I think it is wonderful. If I wasn't such a skinflint, I might even consider one as a Proton replacement. However, my budget is never really over £1,500, so I probably won't have one fall into my lap. Now that's it from me today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been something different that you've been able to appreciate. But until next time, when we meet again, take care and drive safely.